Hey everyone, this morning we're looking at some Photoshop techniques. We're going to create a reusable PSD mockup template with smart objects and the perspective warp tool. We're going to start with a base raw image like this. It's just a blank box, and we're going to turn it into a product shot, kind of like this. So let's open up our base file. Oops. There you go, file open, locate it. Alright, so this is our starting point. I'm going to create a couple of shapes really quickly that we're going to use as sort of the basis for the artwork that we're going to wrap. Just notice we're working in grayscale. We'll flip that to RGB. And I'm going to make these kind of planes here, kind of coloured so that I can tell which side's which. Just line that up. Doesn't matter what your colours are. And I'm going to duplicate Command J that side panel there and transform it to the top so that I can just keep that kind of width and depth the same, holding Shift down to distort there. I'm going to rename these. And then select all of them and convert them into a smart object. So smart object is like a file inside of a file. I've condensed those three layers down into one, and kind of made the reusable component to this template. So if I double click on that, we can go into our template and add art, and then come back to our workspace here. So now to wrap this around our box, I'm going to drop down the opacity so I can see the box and use it as a guide. And I'm going to apply to that smart object the perspective warp filter. Now in the perspective warp filter, we've got two tabs here, and in the layout tab what we do is create a set of kind of planes that we can use for distortion, and I'm going to add 3 of those. Like so. So once they're kind of in position, which I think they're pretty good, we'll move over to the warp tab, and this is where we can actually reposition these pins. It does take a little bit of time and fiddling, so kind of roughly do it to start with, because you're going to have to make some adjustments. So we'll quickly kind of flesh that in, and then we'll maybe go in a bit closer and try and get it a bit more perfect. So I'm getting closer, and let's go and look at it in a bit more detail. Now I'm just going to leave a little bit of bleed hanging over the edge, and we'll trim that off later on. Alright, it's getting there. Certainly does take a bit of fine tuning. Don't worry about that a preview there at the moment. I reckon that'll do us. And we'll come up to the top here and we'll hit OK. And we've wrapped that around our box, so that's pretty good. The next thing we need to do is go into that artwork and add the artwork to our smart object. I'm going to apply multiply so that it kind of meshes the top artwork with the artwork underneath. Alright, so let's go into our smart object, and inside here we want to kind of use this artwork that we've created as a guide and overlay our artwork we're going to wrap around the box. And I've prepared a couple of things for us to quickly use. I've got a background. I'm going to drag and drop that onto our artwork. Maybe rescale it a little bit. Kind of technology themed. Just going to draw a couple of guides here so I know where the front of the box is, and the top and sides, etc. Because I'm going to open up a logo and drop that onto our workspace as well. So I think that's all I'll do for the demonstration, is just position these two elements, but of course you can work up the design as you see fit. We'll save that smart object file and close it down, close all these other files down, and you can see that it's wrapped that artwork around our box. Now we've got this strange little artifact happening here, and that's easily fixable. We'll go back into our artwork. That's just because we haven't got this corner transparent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group our artwork here, and I'm going to group our guides, and I think I'm going to do create a selection and a mask. That's one way of doing it. And then we'll save that, head back to our save that. And that's fixed that up, so that's looking good. Excellent. So the last thing, of course, we could finesse this forever, but one thing I do want to do is sort of trim up those edges a little bit so we can see that when we get in close, we're just going to overhang a bit there, and that's good because I want to kind of get right up to that edge there. I've drawn a path, if you can see here, around the edges of our box, and I'm going to use that path. I'm going to create a selection based on that path and apply a mask to a smart object like so. So that's going to trim it up nicely and make those edges a little nicer. So the other thing that we could do with that path is create a background layer. So create a solid layer, something kind of bluish, maybe a bit brighter. And I can again use the transparency based on that path to just fill that mask with black there so that it kind of cuts out a little hole there. And I'll apply multiply to that as well so that we can bring back those kind of shadows. We can drop it off if you wanted to. The other thing that I might do here is add an adjustment layer to increase the kind of depth of our shadows. And there we have it. That's our kind of product shot that we've built using warp, a perspective warp, and smart objects. And the good thing about using these techniques is we've got something that's reusable. So we could build this template, build a series of templates, and use them, keep them in a kind of a library and reuse them for client projects as required. All right, take it easy.